Good afternoon. First of all, talk a little bit about the last game, South Florida. I thought we played our most complete game last week. Had a lot of respect for them coming in. Played really well defensively right from the start. Really gave up one running play, and that they hit for about 37 yards. Didn't fit that one correctly, but other than that, tackled well, played well, ran to the ball where we were supposed to be, made them one-dimensional. And offensively, did some really good things. Rushed for over 200 yards again. I think they're our third straight game. Malik over 100 yards rushing for 3 straight games. Very efficient and just in the overall flow of the whole game. Took control early and really didn't relinquish any of that. And was proud of the way our guys bounced back in that week. I think so. This week, obviously, back on the road. Playing in conference again, which we need to play well. Obviously for a conference game, and then having to go up to Boston, on the road. Obviously a challenge when you're playing on the road in the ACC. But it comes back to us, I think. Focus on what we can control, which is how we prepare. I thought we did a great job of that last week with, very intentional in how we prepare. We got to do that again this week. Our guys have to be focused in each and every day with the game plan that we're putting in. How to execute it, and then obviously go up there and play fast. I think it's a 12 o'clock kick again. I thought our guys did a great job with that last week. That was our first 12 o'clock game that we had. It's a big difference when you're thinking 7:30 to 12. Having to wake right up. You got an 8 o'clock pregame meal. So it's the same thing that we're going to have to do this week on the road. Against a Boston College team that has not done as well as they would have liked so far. I think offensively. Obviously one of the best players in our conference was Zay Flowers. They're going to do everything they can to get the ball to him. He is fast. He can run. He can catch. He runs great routes. I think he's one of the best receivers in our league. And I think they've struggled a little bit in protection wise. I think they're giving up some pressures there. But their quarterback's a talented player. He's a big kid. He's got a really good arm. He can throw it. I think. Just the issue of protection, I think, is probably the one thing that's hurt them the most this year offensively. I think defensively, turn the film on. There's a lot of guys back from last year. I think they're a very, very solid defense. They're where they're supposed to be. They don't get out of position. They do a really good job running to the football. They're a good tackling team. It's a good defense. It really is. And they did lose one of their best defensive players, number 11, the defensive end. He's an outstanding player. I remember him from last year. Had a couple of tackles for loss against us last year, which I think he's out for the season now. But really all the other guys are back, and it's an old defense. A lot of graduates that are on that defense. So, just another challenge for us to go on the road. We need to get a conference win. So we need to have a great week of practice, and looking forward to that. Ashton Gillot he missed last week with an injury. Will be back this week. He'll be at practice this afternoon. I know we missed him last week. It was kind of a game time decision with him, but he missed a lot of time in practice last week and really didn't feel he was ready to play. So we were able to put him in this week, so he should be back. So that'll give us some good boost right there. I think Yaya's playing at a high level. I think he's leading the ACC in sacks right now. Ashton's up there as well in sacks per game. So I think both of those guys are doing a really good job. We put in more pressure on teams this year, which I think is awesome. Trying to knock them off the sticks to create these third and long situations. Our defense has done a much better job with that. We got to continue that as well this week.
Scott, how do you keep that sharpness that you had from last week? And they were obviously ready to play when they came out last Saturday. And the other thing is you had only, I think, 5 or 6 penalties.
Yeah.
Sunday?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had to run for our mistakes that we had in that game. 5 penalties that we had there. 2 of them were late in the game. But yeah, you can't lose your concentration. And I think the good news is that most of those penalties were during the play. So that's just playing hard. Now you're going to have some of those type penalties, but I think we didn't have as many pre-snap penalties. That was the key. And I think just, going back to the Florida State game, I thought we played extremely hard. We didn't fit we didn't tackle as good as we needed to tackle. And I think that gave up some of those big plays. I mean, again, I mentioned it. We had 4 sacks and 10 tackles for loss against those guys, and I think, but that, you know, we lost contained twice. It turned into 14 points. I mean, those are things that we got to get better, and we did. We got better at that, and so we got to continue to get better at that. And it starts in practice throughout the whole week of guys doing what they're supposed to do. And really focusing in. I mean, to me, it's the biggest thing is just focusing each and every play. You can't take a play off. One play, I do the wrong thing, and all of a sudden it's a big play, and we don't look good. You know, so it all fits and like a puzzle, and so everybody has to be on point with their assignment.
One thing, Scott, that I've noticed, and I'm sure everybody else has, your kicking game, your kickoffs, your punts, your punt returns this year, your kickoff return has been maybe about as good as I've seen it at Louisville in a long time. Obviously, do you have a separate coach for that, and do you obviously put an emphasis on that?
Yeah, we really emphasize it big time in fall camp, even in the spring and in fall, and then obviously throughout the week. We spend a lot of time every day working on that. I think it starts with the actual kicking. I think Mark Vassett's well ahead of where he was last year as a true freshman as a punter. He's punting the ball high. He's giving our guys opportunity to cover and get down the field. And our guys are they're flying down the field and they're throwing at these returners, and they're doing a great job with that. You know, we're kicking the ball in the kickoffs. We're trying to kick it out of the end zone. I mean, and we're doing a great job with that. And you know, there late in the game, we gave up a return late in the game. I think it was one of the last plays. We had some guys that are not normally out there. We played a lot of guys, and so I think that was one of the reasons they got that return. Really pleased with the way the guys are covering, and you know, that's a huge part because you're flipping the field, man, and we're allowing our guys to flip that field with those kicks. We got some different things we're doing in the punt team, and then Braden Smith as a returner, he's fearless. I think, you know, if you look at his stats, they're not great, but he is fielding the ball and not allowing that ball to roll another 10 or 15 yards. Those are some hidden yards right now. Sometimes it doesn't come up in the stat book. You're going to look at it and you're going to say, man, he had 4 carries for 0 return yards. Well, he stopped the ball from rolling back, and I really appreciate how he's fielding it, how he's doing. He's fearless. Sometimes he makes me nervous because the guys are all around him. He doesn't like the fair catch very often either. So, but I like the aggressiveness that he has, and so yeah, we're pleased with that. And JT's kicked the ball well, you know, the last couple of games, and so you know we got to continue that trend. It's been really good to see in the kicking game.
Coach, I'll follow up a little bit on that. I've got a different question, but he asked you who coaches the special teams. Do you?
So the way we do this year, last year, you know, we had the one coach. This year, we're splitting it up. We got a bunch of guys that are kind of heading that up. And, you know, Jeff Popovich is a guy who's kind of the leader in the building. But all our coaches, we've got there's 4 coaches that are assigned to each special team unit, and we're all involved. So it's more of a team effort as a coach now instead of having one guy. We got a bunch of eyes on it. And so a bunch of coaches that are looking at different things throughout the building in the kicking game. I think that's really helped this year.
I wanted to ask you about the running back situation. You've had 3 different running backs that have been the leading rushers at that position. What are your thoughts on that, on the running backs now, and maybe your preference going forward?
Well, I mean, really, you know, it's kind of been some guys hurt one week, some guys healthy one week. I mean, you know, Tyon missed a game, Cooley missed a game early. Jay Mitch has been out. You know, Jaws was a little banged up last week, and so it's kind of been by committee, I think. But what I like out of this bunch is when they're getting their chance and their opportunity, they're making the most of it. You know, we've seen what Cooley's been able to do the last 2 weeks. He really ran hard again. You know, we looked at the Florida State game. He had 4 big catches. He had 2 touchdowns. You know, Tyon came back, ran hard this past game. Jordan, to me, is an explosive back that's really gotten some big-time plays. So I love the competition and the effort that the guys have been able to create, and I think we'll continue that on. You know, we'll tell them today. I mean, it's an open competition. I mean, it's whoever's going to be practicing the best, and that's why I love it in practice because they're getting really great reps at it. They don't have time to take a play off, and then when you come into the game, it's more of a feel thing. We're kind of seeing, you know, who's seeing it, who's feeling it, and then also we want to keep them fresh, and so we are going to rotate. It depends on how the flow of the game is going. So, but I'm very pleased with the way all the guys have played so far in that room. We got to take care of the ball better. You know, we've put the ball on the ground last week, the Florida State week. We got to do a better job taking care of the football. But other than that, I think that group's done a really nice job.
Scott, going back to the penalties bit, heading into that USF game, you guys were averaging 10 a game, but then go into the USF game, commit 5, and only 3 of them were outside of garbage time. What was it you did as the week went on to kind of improve in that area, and how do you kind of focus in on that to make sure this isn't just a one-time thing?
In what area? I'm sorry. What area are you talking about?
How do you continue to make sure you guys stay disciplined and don't commit as many penalties?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's something we've talked about and focusing on. We're trying to stay disciplined. And, again, to me, it's the pre-snap penalties is what drive me crazy, where it doesn't take any talent. It's just focus and concentration. Did a much better job with that. Disappointed in the one defensive penalty on 4th down that we got, and you gave them an extra 5 yards. That's focus. That's discipline. That's what we're really kind of focusing on. The ones that happen after the play, man, we're playing hard sometimes. You're going to get that. Like Dorian Jones gets called at the end of the game for a late hit out of bounds, and it's really, really close. I mean, the guy's right on the sideline. I can't hardly fault a guy for that because we're playing hard. And, but the pre-snap penalty, we're going to continue to focus on it. We have, things that we're doing at practice that we talked about. Hey, you're going to go get your 10 up downs right now. If you have that penalty, we're going to run after practice just to try to keep them focused in to know what we have to do, because it's so huge and critical in games. And we've seen how much it hurts us when we do those things. So we'll just keep harping on it, and hopefully we'll continue to learn that we're going to be a better team if we don't have those penalties.
We talked a lot after the game about the number of people that you played. How do you manage the young guys, and knowing that you got 4 games and some of them, like Turner and Popeye played, some snaps? How do you manage those guys moving forward?
Well, I think either some of those guys will try to increase their role and let them do more for us. Like Maurice Turner, I think, is a really good football player. He's on a lot of our special teams. Now let's find other ways that he can help us. And I think, if it's a guy who we see maybe not be still down the line a little bit, we'll be, really cautious about playing him only just a few snaps, because, you get those 4 games. So I think it's week by week and an individual case basis to see where they can really help us. Like Chris Bells, for example, who really came out. We saw what, he got that one nice catch and took off down the sideline. He's a monster out there at wideout and can really run. So hopefully, like a guy like that will increase his role a little bit more this week, get him some more opportunities to catch the football. Because I think a guy like him, I think he's going to get better and better every week. So I do think it's individually, on a case-by-case basis to see where we're at with those guys. The other thing to think about is, and we told the guys Sunday in our meeting, is that, when you get in this point in the season, we're game 4, we're getting ready to hit game 5, and the injuries start to creep in, more and more guys are going to have roles on special teams. And we've seen it every year. And so some of those guys will start to increase that role with that. And therefore, it also increases their role on offense or defense. So I think as we see how the season goes forward, we'll see what we need to do.
Scott, you guys are obviously running the ball really well, popping some big runs. How would you evaluate your passing game up to this point?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think we've gotten a lot of production out of our offense as we sit here after 4 weeks. You always look at it. We're 450 yards a game right now. We've played some good teams. We feel like we're about as balanced as you can be, 225 to 225. In run and pass. And I think we've also increased our scoring from each week. We've gotten more and more points as we move forward. You're kind of settling in as an offense to see where we're at. We would like to hit a few more throws down the field. We'll keep working at it. We'll keep trying to find ways. Obviously, the bottom line is to move the ball and score points. And we just started out and early in the season just not doing as well scoring points. And I think the last 2 weeks we've done a much better job with it. We're more disciplined on offense. We're allowing our offense to go faster. If you notice, the tempo the last few games have been a lot quicker on offense, and we've been able to get more plays. I think last week in the first half we had 18 first downs in the first half, and Florida State we had 17. I mean, that's a lot of first downs in one half, and I think we're putting pressure on the defense that way. But again, we're going to take what the defense gives us, and if we can run it, we'll run it. If they're going to give us a throw, we'll try to take that as well. But last week there were a couple of times we had some guys there. We'd love to be able to complete those balls. We just got to keep working at it.
And Malik has done, he's broken off some big runs, obviously, this year. How much when the threat of him doing that opens things up for your tailbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to. I mean, as a defense, they're looking to defend us. They're having to defend 11 guys, not just 10. It's 11 guys to where they got to account for Malik. And it should open up some holes. It should open up some of the throw game. It should open up some more run game for the running backs. we like that for our offense. So we're going to continue to do that. Again, the first game was on me. We did not do a very good job with Malik in his run game. But since then we have, and we've been much better offense. We've moved the ball, we've scored more points, and we put more pressure on the defense. And that's just what we got to continue to do. And hopefully we'll get these receivers more involved in the throw game and continue to make some big plays in that.
I guess along that line with the receivers, what kind of progress have you seen with them in terms of trying to get separation and create options for Malik? And I guess the second question about penalties, what is your balance between holding guys accountable and avoiding calling them out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, when you get penalties, you sometimes you need to get called out. If it's the same ones that are continuing to do the same penalties. And so, but if you ask them, they're going to tell you the same thing too. So I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a thing that's going to be negative. You got to listen. You got to own up to it. I mean. If it's something that we're doing as coaches, then we'll get it. We'll own up to it. We'll get it fixed. And if something as an individual player is doing, then they got to get it fixed. So it goes hand in hand. It's all of us. We're all in that thing together. But as far as the receivers go, we try to find ways that we look at the game plan to free them up and to get them open. Obviously, it's the quarterback's job when they are open to hit them. The line's got to do a great job of protection. So it's all those things. I do think. Our guys have done a decent job of getting open. I think, at times we got to do better if we can. But we had a few more Saturday. We got out there. We just got to be able to make a throw and catch. And I think just continue to practice, continue to looking at it and find ways to get some of these playmakers in space. I think Mari Huggin Bruce was a guy who we like to be able to get free. We had him free a few times Saturday, and because I do think he's a big play receiver. He's one of our more explosive guys. T. Huddy's a big catch radius guy. Where we feel comfortable throwing to, and Braden Smith's working the underneath. Ford's another guy who's a great target. So we just got to continue to build those guys out, and we've been very successful throwing to the backs this year as well. Coming out of the backfield, we got to continue to do that too.
Scott, I just mentioned Braden. He had a court case today stemming from the assault charge from a few months back. I guess at that time he's obviously suspended indefinitely. Brought it back. Just curious what went into the decision-making process to bring him back, and just want to get your comments on that. Legal situation right now. Yeah,
it was something we handled this past spring, summer, in-house with him, and did some things, suspensions and some other things. And we're always going to take any allegation serious and look at each case individually. That's what we did with Braden, and we felt it was time he was able to come back and play. And court date I guess was today, so we'll see what happened with that. But yeah, we handled that in-house and was able to bring him back right during camp.
Scott, you mentioned their defense is at Boston College. A lot of veteran guys. Last year they had 4 takeaways against you guys. What will be key this weekend?
Same thing. Taking care of the football offensively. End with the kick. I think that's the key. We can go back last year. You can go back the year before that when we went up there. We turned the ball over. Tutu had a fumble. I remember Hassan Hall had a fumble on a nice run. I mean, we threw a pick at the end of the game. I mean, so. We got to do a much better job taking care of the ball. The thing that Boston College, what they do defensively is keep that umbrella, they keep it all in front of you, and then they run to the football. And I feel like for us, last year we had a couple of fumbles, we had an interception. If we do a great job of just having a kick at the end of it, we'll be able to move the football. Last year I think we rushed for over 300 yards on them, did not throw the ball great against them, but being patient, I think offensively, there's a fine line going fast but being patient within the plays that we're running. And then, and then defensively, we got to continue to play like we did last week. We got to keep doing that, and I think that will help our offense as well. The thing that we did great last week was we played off of each other, which we haven't done this year, where, the offense is feeding off the defense and vice versa, and the kicking game too. So just that feeding off each other, we got to be able to do, because you're going on the road. We're gonna need to be able to play as a team and a unit like we did last week. All right, thanks.